Hey everyone, Kim and Cory here with a micro episode, version 2, season 4. This is where we're going to really try to actually keep this stuff micro. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to set a timer and it's going to count down 10 minutes. We will not go over 10 minutes once we set this timer. And we are bringing you 2 tips in 10 minutes for building relationships with your coachees. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. But first, Kim, as I start this timer, let's just talk about why. All right. And then we'll do our 2 tips. Okay. All right. This is harder for me than it is for you. Here we go. Start timer. Go. Why build relationships? Why is it so important at the start of the year?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I just feel like if you don't do that at the beginning of the year, there's not going to be movement. The most important thing is that students grow, and that's not going to happen. I've done a lot of things that have done the opposite of build relationships, which is what I'm going to talk about today. And there was no growth. There was no student growth. There was no teacher growth. It just didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have relationships to be able to build the work. We've talked about the partnership approach in coaching, which I know you're going to talk a little bit more about. And I mean, you got to have some kind of introduction, right? Some kind of start. People got to know who you are and what you're working with. So let's go into the tips. My first tip is begin as you mean to go. So what I mean by this is take time to reflect on yourself. What do you want from your coaching this year? What do you want those relationships to be like? What kind of partner with your teachers do you want to be? Are you desiring to be that kind of springboard for them where they're coming to you? They've got ideas. They're doing most of the talking. Remember our PSA that you don't have to do all the work or all the heavy lifting. Think about what it is that you want to do, and then I recommend that you create an intro video. Everybody knows I love video. It's part of the reason why I work at Sibme and I'm so passionate about it. But I also think it's a really great tool for sharing information. So I want to challenge all you coaches to think a little bit about what you want your work to look like, what your roles and responsibilities are. From episode 1, we talked about that. And then create an intro video that you can email out or share. If you're using Sibme, you can share it on there. That's going to walk people through who you are so you can start to build a relationship with them, but also what's it going to be that they are working with you for? You know, why should they reach out to you? How do they reach out to you? What's the work going to look like? This might be where you maybe include access to your coaching menu or talk about your coaching menu. Talk about the things that you'd love to do with them. Talk a little bit about your background. So one of the things I'm putting in our notes and takeaways is our tips for introducing video. You can follow the same cadence for your intro video. Share your passion about supporting your teachers, about education, outline the process a little bit of what it's going to look like, talk about what those roles and responsibilities will be if they choose to work with you as a coach, and then make sure you address any concerns they might have, like, is the information I share with you confidential? Who else will see the things or hear about the things we're doing? Those kinds of things. So that's my tip. Where are we?
Oh, we are good. We are good on time. Whew. Yes, you did great.
I'm going to listen back to this. I'm going to be talking so fast.
I'm really proud of you. I know. I feel like I also need to talk very fast, but we have some time.
Okay. So that's my tip. Start the way you plan to go and, thinking about that schedule, all of that. What's your tip? Building relationships.
Yeah, well, I have also, I have 2 books that I happen to have on
Kim's always got a book next to her.
And so the Impact Cycle, Jim Knight, most of you probably have read it. In this, he talks about really making sure that you're using the dialogical approach. He likes this idea of doing that. My tip is ask more than answer. And really, this is something that I did not do. I'm learning from my own mistakes here. I used to think that and I've said this on this show before, I used to think that my role as a coach was to give everyone answers because, that's it is what it is. I had the answers, I was giving it to people.
Right.
And that couldn't have been more wrong. And so I think one of the things I've really worked on is asking questions and good questions and thoughtful questions and really listening to the answers as opposed to thinking about what I'm going to say next, rather than trying to answer all the questions that people have. And you don't have to walk away from a coaching conversation with them having an answer to something. You might say, hey, I need to research something and I'll come back to you. And I think that's okay. I think being vulnerable and saying, I don't have all the answers, but gosh, we'll find them together. I think that's great. And being really a really great listener is also something that I'm trying to work on, because it's hard to not think about your response. It's hard to not think about what's coming next. So my artifact for you is really a great list of questions. And this comes from Elena Aguilar. And I know that most of you have heard of her and heard of her work. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this idea of questions for first meeting with a new client. And a client for her is anyone, whether that's a district person, another coach that you're coaching perhaps, or a teacher. It's just anyone that you're working with and that you're serving. And so there are different questions on here for building background, building based on relationships. And I think that these are great stems to go from. You don't want it to seem unnatural, however. So, and absolutely no reason to go down this one by one, right? So you might pick and choose from here what's most important for you to know, and things that you think your teacher might want to tell you about. But these are some great question stems in terms of building relationships and questions you might ask people. But I think the most important thing to take away from this is that you are asking questions and you aren't always having to answer them. That's not your goal as a coach. It's really to listen and support.
Yeah, I love, first of all, these questions are great from Elena Aguilar and the Bright Morning team. So we'll drop the link to this resource in there. Definitely don't feel like you've got to go down the list. But what I hear in yours is kind of two really groundbreaking things for some coaches. I know they were groundbreaking for me because I also was kind of thrown into the role of instructional coach, right? I did some good work in my classroom. And because of that work and some leadership things I had just kind of taken on, I was asked to then be a leader in our district and be an instructional coach. And initially I thought that was like, well, I was hired because apparently I've got some answers. And so I should go and share those out. I need to be an expert, right? So I attended a lot of trainings and thought my job was to take in information and then spread it as far as I could for everybody and be the expert. And that's just not going to work. It's not going to help build relationships. Does it make you very relatable sometimes? And you can't be the expert in everything for every grade level, every situation. Right. So don't set yourself up for failure by setting that precedence that you've got all the answers. And there is nothing I love more than when somebody, I don't care if it's at the Burger King drive-through or Lowe's, especially at Lowe's, when someone says, I don't know, let me find that out and get back to you. Because then I know that they're really listening to me and that I'm a valuable person. So I think that's awesome. The other thing I hear in there is just be present.
Yeah.
Ask more than answer is about being present, not always thinking about what your answer is, but just kind of like sitting in the conversation and really being there. And that is something that's hard for me sometimes. Still working on that one for sure.
Me too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, I think that's important. So again, your 2 tips: begin as you mean to go. Think about the type of relationships you want to have, and then put a message out into the world that says that is the relationship you want to have. And here's some ways that we can build that together. And think about what those key questions are that you want to know about people that will help you build that interpersonal relationship, but also have that professional to support you. So, Kim, I'm looking at my timer, a whole minute left.
Well, we did it.
I can't believe it. Holy shnikes.
I can't believe it.
We did it.
Unreal. Congratulations, everyone. Happy Friday.
This will be the only time we do it. We'll just laugh. Our goal is to bring one of these 10-minute micro episodes to you every single month. Sometimes they'll be with Kim and I, sometimes just one of us. Maybe we'll have another guest in here and mix it up. I would love to know what other content you want us to talk about while I have this extra 26 seconds. So be sure to share your scenarios, your questions, or an artifact that you want us to talk about and explore to learn@sibme.com. Don't forget to download the notes and takeaways, and be sure to follow us on social media. All right, we did it.
Okay.
8 seconds. Thanks everyone for joining us. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.